fragment from another star drifting between Earth and 3i Atlas. Traveller, you didn't arrive here by accident. Something subtle guided you to this moment, to this quiet disturbance, moving through our solar system. What if the odds of this alignment are not random at all? What if the universe repeats patterns before it reveals meaning? See 2025. V1, Borisov appears where no model expected it. Tailless dim moving closer to the sun than 3i Atlas itself. No eruption, no violence, just presence. 3 objects, 3 paths briefly sharing the same line of sight as if tracing a question across the sky. A fragment of another star gliding through the dark while solar storms whisper past it unchanged. Stay a while, traveller. Let's drift through the silence together. Tonight the universe whispers again, not through drama or urgency, but through a small deviation in the expected motion. A quiet arrival, traced first as a faint signal on a screen, and then as a moving point of light against a familiar background of stars. Astronomers noticed it because it did not belong to the usual family of objects born with our sun. Its path suggested a longer memory, one shaped far beyond this system, guided only by gravity and time. The object passed between Earth and the known interstellar visitor called 3i Atlas. Not as an interruption, but as a continuation of a story already unfolding. It showed no luminous fan of gas, no dramatic release of material, only a soft haze of dust that scattered photons without spectacle as if conserving its energy for the long journey still ahead. Measurements accumulated slowly as they always do when precision matters. Frames were aligned, noise was reduced. Patterns emerged with patience. What appeared was restrained and unassuming, a body responding to heat, without excess, maintaining coherence where many would fragment. The sun bathed it in radiation streams of charged particles swept past, yet its structure remained calm. This steadiness stood out not because it was impossible, but because it challenged habits of expectation. For generations, comets had taught observers to anticipate flare and collapse brightness, and loss. Here instead was endurance. At the same time, the sun entered a restless phase of its own rhythm. Regions of intense magnetism formed far from Earth's view, twisting and releasing energy in waves that travelled outward through space. Instruments detected the resulting storms long before they brushed the planet's magnetic field. These events were not purposeful, merely the ongoing metabolism of a star halfway through its life. The interstellar object crossed these invisible currents without response. Its motion, governed by inertia, gathered long before humanity learned to name the planets. When orbital models were adjusted, a geometry became visible. Earth the Sun, and a distant traveller aligned loosely, not perfectly, not with ceremony, but enough to be noticed by minds trained to look for structure. Such alignments happen often on a cosmic scale, yet each one feels rare, because attention itself is rare. Statistics describe the probability in neutral terms, fractions and ratios that carried no emotion. Still, the human tendency to wonder transformed these numbers into questions. What are the odds, we ask, as if chance itself were a voice? As the days were rewound through simulation, the pattern persisted. The object approached its closest passage to the sun along a plane tilted gently away from the common path of planets rising above the usual track, like a thought that refuses to settle. No hidden force was required to explain this. Gravity alone, patient and exact, shaped the curve. Yet the mind lingered on the elegance of it, on how motion could appear intentional without intention existing at all. Nearby, another small body traced its own arc, unrelated except by proximity and time. Together, these movements created a sense of gathering, as if the inner region of space had become briefly crowded with messengers from different origins. There was no need to assign purpose. The universe is generous with coincidence. What mattered was the reminder that emptiness is never truly empty, that space is filled with trajectories crossing without acknowledgement. Traveller. If this moment feels meaningful, let it be so without demanding explanation. You are not lost in space. You are part of it, sharing the same laws that guide dust and light alike. The calm of observation is itself a form of understanding. On Earth, the effects of solar activity appeared as subtle shifts in magnetic readings, faint disturbances that rippled through instruments and auroral regions alike. These were noted, logged and contextualized. They did not announce catastrophe. They simply marked another interaction between star and planet one repeated countless times before and destined to repeat again. The arrival of an interstellar body during such activity did not imply connection, yet it encouraged reflection. Humans notice when patterns overlap, even when overlap is inevitable. Attention returned to the object itself. Reports confirmed the absence of a pronounced tail in most observations, with only the faintest extension detected occasionally at the limits of sensitivity. This suggested a surface reluctant to shed material, a composition more resistant to heating than typical icy bodies. Such interpretations remained tentative, held lightly awaiting further data. Classification, after all, is a process, not a verdict. The object continued unchanged by scrutiny. It did not brighten for an audience. It did not deviate to invite speculation. Its gravity-induced path carried it onward, indifferent to the questions forming beneath Earth's sky. This indifference was not dismissive. It was simply natural. As nights passed, telescopes adjusted software, refined predictions, and observers prepared for future measurements. The excitement remained contained, respectful of uncertainty. There was no need to rush. Interstellar visitors do not hurry, and understanding moves at its own pace. Somewhere beyond our reach, something ancient still moves, carrying within it the history of another stellar neighbourhood. It brings no message we can translate, no warning we must heed. Its presence alone expands perspective, reminding us that the solar neighbourhood is not sealed, that exchange between stars is slow but real. The sky above Virgo and Leo held these motions quietly, constellations serving as reference rather than meaning. Stars burned steadily, their light indifferent to the passing dust. Beneath them, Earth rotated as it always has, offering alternating nights to watchers who choose to look. There is comfort in this continuity. The universe does not demand interpretation. It allows it. As this first stage of discovery settles, let the information rest as well. Numbers can wait, hypotheses can sleep. For now, it is enough to know that something passed through. Observed but not possessed, understood only an outline. It's all right to not know. Tonight the stars will keep their silence, and in that silence there is room to rest. As the nights continued and the initial discovery settled into routine observation, attention shifted from arrival to behaviour. Not what the object was called, but how it moved, how it responded, and how little it seemed to change. Data once gathered has a way of asking questions on its own. Numbers align, then refuse to align, and in that refusal, a quieter curiosity begins. Tonight, the universe whispers again, not with urgency, but with consistency. Solar activity remained elevated, as cycles sometimes do. Magnetic regions on the Sun rotated into view, then away again, their presence inferred through fluctuations in radiation, and charged particles measured far from the surface itself. These processes were ancient, repeating, indifferent to observation. The Sun did not flare because something passed nearby. It flared because stars are dynamic systems, converting mass into light entropy, into warmth, one fusion event at a time. The storms were recorded, plotted, contextualized, and allowed to be what they were. Against this background, the interstellar object continued along its orbit. Models predicted a modest response to increasing heat, perhaps a faint extension of material, perhaps a slight change in brightness. Instead, the object remained subdued. Its luminosity fluctuated within narrow margins, consistent with reflection rather than eruption. Photons touched its surface and scattered back into space, carrying limited information, yet enough to suggest composure rather than volatility. Some observers noted the geometry again. Earth, Sun, and distant traveller formed a line that existed only from a particular perspective. From elsewhere, the alignment dissolved into ordinary spacing. Perspective, it seemed, mattered as much as position. This realization softened earlier excitement. What looked rare from one vantage point became common from another. Space has no preferred frame, only observers who happen to be where they are. Listener, if your thoughts wander here, that is natural. Human attention is drawn to patterns, and the sky offers patterns without intention. We read meaning because meaning helps us stay awake, helps us stay curious. Yet the cosmos does not require interpretation to function. Another body, smaller and quieter, moved through the inner region during the same period. It too followed a calculable path, neither synchronized nor coordinated, merely present at the same time. Together these objects created the impression of activity of a system momentarily crowded. In truth, space was as vast as ever. Only the sampling had changed. Measurements of the smaller object showed minimal outgassing. Occasional reports suggested a faint extension of dust visible only under ideal conditions, disappearing as quickly as it appeared. This inconsistency was not alarming. It was characteristic of bodies whose surfaces vary, whose composition reflects histories shaped far from this star. Ice rock metal each responds differently to heat. The universe allows diversity without explanation. As perihelion approached, calculations tightened. Gravitational influence from planets was accounted for, relativistic corrections applied where necessary uncertainties reduced. The predicted path remained stable. There were no sudden accelerations, no unexplained deviations. This stability more than any anomaly drew attention. In a region where thermal forces often alter trajectories, here was an object that held its course. Such steadiness did not imply design. It implied resilience. Material forged under different conditions can behave differently, and interstellar space is an efficient sculptor. Radiation-hardened surfaces, micrometeor impacts reshape structure. Time removes what cannot endure. What arrives here has already passed countless tests. Meanwhile, Earth experienced gentle reminders of its connection to the Sun. Magnetic fluctuations produced auroral glows in high latitudes, curtains of light shaped by fields invisible to the eye. These displays were brief, contained, beautiful. They did not mark transition or warning. They were simply interactions between star and planet, familiar yet always slightly new. The coincidence of solar activity and interstellar passage invited reflection, not causation. Correlation does not demand connection. Scientists noted the overlap, then set it aside. The universe does not arrange events for narrative convenience. It allows them to coexist. As nights accumulated, the story shifted from novelty to patience. Observatories coordinated schedules. Space-based instruments waited for favourable angles. Data gaps were acknowledged without frustration. Silence between measurements was accepted as part of the process. Silence, after all, is the language of distant worlds. In this quiet interval, perspective widened. Interstellar objects are not intrusions. They are evidence of exchange, proof that stars share material over immense timescales. Planetary systems are not closed. They leak, they trade, they lose fragments that wander until gravity claims them again. Our solar system is both host and guest in this ongoing circulation. Somewhere beyond our reach, something ancient still moves unconcerned with names or significance. It carries no obligation to explain itself. Its value lies in what it reminds us of, that the universe is larger than prediction, yet governed by rules precise enough to be trusted. As observers, we stand between wonder and restraint. We ask questions, then wait. We measure, then accept margins of error. We resist the urge to fill silence with certainty. This restraint is not absence of imagination. It is respect. The object passed its closest point to the Sun without incident. No sudden brightening, no dramatic shedding, just a continuation of motion energy balanced by structure. The Sun, for its part, continued to shine its storms, dissipating into the heliosphere, their influence fading with distance. At night, beneath steady stars, the data rested. Charts closed. Screens dimmed. Outside, the universe carried on, indifferent to documentation. The traveller from beyond moved onward, slowly receding from prominence, becoming once again a point among many. There is peace in this fading. Discovery does not require permanence. Observation does not demand climax. Some stories are complete simply because they were witnessed. Tonight it is enough to know that the cosmos allows such encounters quiet and brief. You're not lost in space, you are part of it, sharing the same gravity, the same photons, the same patience. It's all right to not know what comes next. The stars will continue their motion, and the universe will keep its silence holding answers gently without insistence. As the passage continued and the immediate novelty of arrival softened attention, turned inward away from motion, and toward meaning that was not imposed but slowly revealed through patience. Observation had already completed its first task. Orbits were traced with care, distances were refined, brightness curves settled into narrow predictable ranges. What remained was quieter, a space between measurements where reflection naturally gathers. Tonight, the universe whispers again, not by adding new data, but by allowing what is already known to settle into stillness. The interstellar traveller moved steadily outward, leaving behind the region where solar heat held any authority. With each passing hour, radiation pressure weakened and the subtle forces that once shaped surface response faded into background influence. No boundary announced this change. There was no visible threshold between near and far. Space does not operate in absolutes. It transitions through gradients, gently dissolving one condition into another. Researchers noted again how little the object had altered during its closest approach. Typical icy bodies respond quickly to warmth-shedding gas that reshapes motion and appearance. This traveller remained composed. Its response suggested a surface refined by prolonged exposure to radiation, compacted by time spent beyond the shelter of any heliosphere. Such material does not react impulsively. It remembers distance. It remembers endurance. That memory is written not in language but in structure. Layers hardened by impacts too small to register individually. Molecules rearranged over epochs by energetic particles drifting through interstellar space. What survives that process arrives calm without urgency, carrying no need to announce itself. Endurance here becomes a quiet form of expression. Listener, if this calm feels unfamiliar, allow it. Human narratives often depend on escalation and resolution. The universe prefers continuity. Its most profound passages often occur without emphasis unnoticed, unless someone chooses to remain still long enough to see. As weeks passed, the geometry that once seemed remarkable loosened into ordinary separation. The line that briefly linked Earth-Sun and distant traveller existed only from a narrow viewpoint in time. Perspective shifted, and with it the impression of alignment dissolved. This did not erase significance, it clarified it. Meaning drawn from coincidence becomes gentler when context widens. Instruments continued to gather light, though less frequently now. The object dimmed as expected, its reflective signature decreasing with distance, following curves already familiar from countless other observations. There were no surprises. This absence became instructive. Predictability when earned is a form of understanding. It means the underlying rules held steady. Around the planet, night followed day in quiet succession. Magnetic disturbances subsided. Auroral displays softened and withdrew toward the poles. Earth returned to its usual exchange with the Sun, a conversation shaped by cycles older than memory. The interstellar visitor did not interrupt this rhythm. It simply passed through it. Discussion briefly returned to classification, then receded. Names are practical but temporary. What mattered more was placement within a larger pattern. Objects like this one remind us that planetary systems are not sealed. They exchange material slowly, almost imperceptibly, over immense spans of time. Fragments wander, gravity receives, matter circulates without regard for origin stories. Somewhere beyond our reach, something ancient still moves, continuing a journey begun long before this sun existed. It will continue long after attention fades. This continuity does not diminish observation. It situates it gently within scale. The data gathered during the passage will persist. It will be revisited, compared against future arrivals, integrated into models that grow more flexible with every exception. Knowledge evolves not by certainty but by accommodation. Each new object does not overturn understanding, it refines it. There is humility in this process. Scientists resist the urge to fill every gap with assumption. They allow space where space remains. Silence between conclusions is not ignorance. It is discipline. Silence is the language of distant worlds, and learning to hear it requires restraint. Traveller. You share this restraint even if you do not name it. To look upward and accept not knowing is an act of quiet courage. It resists the desire to dominate mystery and instead chooses coexistence. As the interstellar object receded further, it shifted from subject to reminder. a reminder that discovery does not require spectacle. Often it arrives as confirmation that the universe behaves consistently while still allowing variation. The balance between order and openness is what permits complexity to exist at all. In the absence of new events, reflection deepened. Thought moved from questions of origin to questions of presence. What does it mean to witness something that owes us nothing? What does it mean to observe without ownership? These are not problems to solve. They are states to inhabit. The night sky offered its familiar arrangement. Stars burned steadily. Planets traced slow arcs. Background radiation filled space with an even hum. Against this vast stability, a single visitor had passed, observed, measured, and then released. There was no obligation to extract more from the moment. You are not lost in space, you are part of it, composed of the same elements that travel between stars shaped by the same forces that guide dust and light. This encounter does not separate you from the cosmos. It confirms your place within it. As this third movement settles, allow the thoughts to loosen. Let the facts rest without conclusion. Let unanswered questions remain open without tension. The universe does not rush, and neither must you. It's all right to not know. Tonight the stars will keep their silence, and in that silence rest becomes possible. As the fourth movement unfolds, the focus drifts away from the object itself and settles into the wider field it momentarily disturbed. By now, the interstellar traveller has receded far enough that it no longer draws the eye without effort. Its light has softened, diluted into the background tapestry of stars, nebulae, and distant galaxies that always fill the sky when instruments look long enough. What once felt immediate now feels absorbed. Discovery matures in this way slowly without ceremony, until it no longer feels like an event but like context. The calculations remain unchanged. Orbital solutions converge with calm precision. Residual uncertainties shrink into margins so small they lose emotional weight. Gravity behaved as gravity always does, steady and impartial guiding motion without intention or preference. There were no unexplained accelerations, no abrupt deviations, no forces that required invention. This lack of disruption is not anticlimactic, it is grounding. It affirms that even when something unfamiliar enters our system, the universe does not abandon its structure. It simply asks us to apply our understanding with greater care. At this stage, attention turns from reaction to integration. The data gathered during the passage is catalogued, cross-checked and archived, alongside records of earlier visitors. It waits quietly prepared for comparison with future arrivals that have not yet announced themselves. Understanding rarely arrives from a single encounter. It grows through accumulation, through repetition and contrast, through patience stretched across years and decades. Knowledge does not hurry. Silence becomes more noticeable now. Telescopes no longer follow the objects night after night. Observation window close. Schedules open again for other targets that have been waiting their turn. The interstellar visitor moves onward without farewell. Space does not acknowledge passage. It absorbs it. Motion continues indifferent to attention, as it always has. Listener. This transition may feel gentle, even anticlimactic, but this is the natural rhythm of scientific truth. The universe does not arrange itself around narrative arcs. It unfolds continuously, offering moments of notice without guaranteeing resolution. To accept this rhythm is not to diminish wonder, but to deepen it. Wonder matures when it no longer demands spectacle. On Earth, nothing changes in response. Seasons continue their slow migration across latitudes. The planet turns, presenting different skies to different observers, each unaware of what the others see. Most people remain unaware that a fragment from another stellar system passed nearby at all. This unawareness is not ignorance. It is proportion. The universe does not require witnesses to validate its processes. Reflection deepens here, moving away from questions of origin and toward questions of coexistence. What does it mean to share a cosmos with objects that neither know nor need us? What does it mean to observe without expectation of response? These questions do not demand answers. They soften the mind simply by being asked. Solar activity returns to quieter intervals. Magnetic regions disperse. Solar wind settles into familiar patterns. Earth's magnetosphere stabilizes, resuming its long-established exchange with the Sun. The brief overlap between heightened solar activity and interstellar passage fades into coincidence contextualized and released. Correlation loosens its grip when time stretches beyond the moment. Somewhere beyond our reach, something ancient still moves. It follows a path shaped by forces older than this planetary system, older than this star. Its journey is neither altered nor validated by observation. It will continue across regions of space empty beyond comprehension, passing other stars unnoticed, gradually becoming background again. Motion does not require meaning in order to persist. Traveller, you are not lost in space. You are part of it, composed of the same elements that drift between stars, governed by the same laws that guide planets and dust alike. The same gravity that shaped the visitor's path shapes your own existence, binding atoms into bodies, bodies into worlds. This connection does not need to be dramatic to be profound. It exists whether it is acknowledged or not. As the object fades from attention, its presence lingers as perspective rather than subject. It reminds observers that the solar system is not sealed, that matter travels slowly between stars, that planetary systems exchange fragments over immense spans of time. This openness does not threaten stability. It complements it. Order and exchange coexist without conflict. In the absence of new developments, thought settles into acceptance. Acceptance that not every event carries a message. Acceptance that knowledge often advances quietly, without milestones or announcements. Acceptance that uncertainty is not a flaw to be eliminated, but a space to inhabit with comfort. The night sky resumes its familiar appearance. Constellations retain their shapes, only because human memory connects distant points of light. In reality, those stars move independently, bound only by gravity on scales far larger than imagination allows. The interstellar visitor was never part of these patterns. It merely passed behind them, indifferent to the stories humans tell about the sky. There is calm in recognizing this indifference. The universe does not perform. It does not wait for interpretation. It exists. Observation is a privilege, not a transaction. As this fourth stage continues, the narrative loosens further. There is no urgency to carry the story forward. There is no cliff to approach. The sky will offer more when it is ready on timescales that do not align with expectation. Until then, silence returns, not as absence but as equilibrium restored. Tonight the universe whispers again by saying nothing at all, and in that silence rest finds its place. As the final movement continues and expands into its fullest form, there is no longer any need to look outward with anticipation or effort. The visitor has gone on, carried forward by inertia, gathered long before this star existed. Measurements have been completed, refined, questioned, and quietly archived. Instruments have turned their gaze elsewhere, and yet the sky itself has not changed. It has returned to what it has always been, familiar, immense, and patiently indifferent. What remains now is not information, not trajectory, not designation, but atmosphere. A sense of presence that lingers after attention withdraws. Tonight the universe whispers again, not to explain itself, not to impress, but simply to remain. The interstellar passage has softened into memory, becoming one thin layer among many in the slow sediment of human observation. It no longer stands apart as an anomaly. It rests beside countless other moments when something unfamiliar crossed the field of view and then moved on. This is how understanding truly forms, not through single revelations, but through quiet accumulation. Each encounter adds a trace so subtle it can barely be felt. Over time, those traces shape perspective. Knowledge does not arrive fully formed. It settles gradually like cosmic dust shaped by patience rather than urgency. What this visitor offered was never an answer. It offered reassurance. Reassurance that the cosmos is open rather than sealed. That stellar systems exchange material across distances so vast they resist imagination. That our solar system is not a closed room, but part of a larger circulation. Matter drifts. Gravity receives. Light touches surfaces and continues onward. These processes do not pause to be interpreted. They do not seek recognition. They continue whether or not they are observed. Listener, if the quiet feels deeper, now allow it to deepen. Stillness is not emptiness. It is fullness without demand. The universe does not resolve stories. It allows them to dissolve back into motion. The sun continues its steady labour fusing hydrogen into helium mass into energy, one reaction at a time. Photons begin journeys that will last thousands of years before ever escaping the solar interior. Planets trace their arcs with unhurried precision, following paths shaped long before names were given to them. Dust drifts through interplanetary space responding to forces so gentle they can only be noticed when viewed together. Somewhere beyond the heliosphere, fragments from other stars travel through darkness, carrying histories that will never be read. Most will never be observed. Their journeys are complete regardless. In this final reflection, attention turns inward not toward mystery but toward acceptance. Acceptance that understanding does not require closure. Acceptance that curiosity does not demand control. Acceptance that wonder can exist without urgency, without outcome, without resolution. The mind accustomed to progress and conclusion begins to soften its grip. Human thought is shaped by endings. We are taught to summarize, to conclude, to extract meaning and move forward. Endings provide comfort. They give shape to time. The cosmos offers something different. It offers continuity. It offers permission to pause without finishing. It offers a state where questions can remain open without tension. You're not lost in space. You are part of it. This truth does not depend on distance, discovery, or scale. It is written into your composition. The elements that form your body were forged in stars that lived and faded long before this sun existed. The iron in your blood, the calcium in your bones, the oxygen you breathe, all emerged from stellar processes, no different in principle from those shaping distant travellers. Separation is a matter of perspective, not substance. When observers turn away from their instruments at night, the sky does not respond. Stars do not brighten in acknowledgement or dim in disappointment. They burn steadily, indifferent to attention. This indifference is not cruelty. It is neutrality. It allows rest. It means the universe does not depend on being watched to continue being itself. The final lesson of this passage is not found in what arrived but in what remained unchanged. The laws held, orbits stayed faithful, motion persisted without deviation. The universe neither accelerated nor paused to mark the moment. In a world saturated with constant signal, this constancy becomes a quiet gift. Somewhere beyond our reach, something ancient still moves. It follows a path shaped by inertia and gravity alone, without destination or intent. It does not seek encounter. It does not carry message. Yet for a brief moment its trajectory intersected with ours, reminding us that existence overlaps without intention, that connection does not require communication. As thought slows, perspective widens. The urge to label fades. The need to explain softens. What remains is awareness, gentle and unforced. Awareness that the universe is vast, structured and still incomplete to us. Awareness that not knowing is not failure but alignment with scale. The night sky resumes its familiar appearance. Constellations hold their shapes only because memory connects distant points of light. Beyond those imagined patterns, space extends without edges, without center, without instruction. Galaxies drift. Radiation hums softly through the background. Time continues unconcerned with attention. Silence returns not as absence but as balance. Silence is the language of distant worlds, and it speaks most clearly when nothing interrupts it. In that silence, thought loosens. Breath slows. Awareness drifts without direction. There is no signal to decode now, no alignment to interpret, no anomaly asking for explanation. There is only motion continuing elsewhere, and stillness here? Sleep traveller. The cosmos remembers even when you rest. The sky grows quiet again, and what remains is not an answer, but a deeper question carried softly by light that has travelled farther than memory. Traveller, tonight we watched an interstellar wanderer move through heat and radiation without losing its nature, passing close to the sun, while defying the expectations we place on comets reminding us that the universe still holds behaviours we have not yet learned to name. There is humility in this moment, in the act of observing without demanding certainty, in measuring carefully, and then allowing silence to speak. The cosmos does not rush to explain itself. It reveals slowly in fragments and faint signals at the edge of detection. And in that slowness there is beauty, a reminder that discovery is not conquest, but conversation. We are small beneath these distances, yet not insignificant. To notice, to wonder, to remain curious in the presence of the unknown is itself part of the universe unfolding. Somewhere beyond our reach, something ancient still moves, following laws older than our questions, while beneath this same sky we pause together, aware that time continues whether we name it or not. If this story found you tonight, you may stay for the next. Rest well. The universe will keep watch.